She walked into my office on a Tuesday morning. Designer heels, fresh MBA, daddy's last name. "Clean out your desk," she said. "I'm running strategy now." I'd built that department from zero to $847 million in revenue. She'd never run anything except her social media account. What happened next wasn't revenge, it was natural selection. My name is Alexandra Chen, though everyone at the company called me Alex, and I was the chief operations officer of the fastest growing enterprise software company in Silicon Valley. Past tense, was. Because that Tuesday morning at 9:47 a.m., everything changed. But let me back up. 3 hours earlier, I'd arrived at the office at 7:30 a.m., same as always. Coffee from the corner cafe that knew my order by heart. Laptop bag heavy with the weekend's work I'd brought home. The headquarters building gleamed in the early morning sun, all glass and steel and ambition, a physical manifestation of what we'd built over 8 years. We were 6 months from our IPO, 6 months from a $2.3 billion valuation that would make us one of the most successful tech launches of the decade. Our flagship platform had revolutionized how Fortune 500 companies managed their data infrastructure. I'd personally overseen the operational framework that allowed us to scale from 50 clients to 500 in 3 years. I should have known something was wrong when Marcus Harrington's assistant called me at 9:30. "Alex, Marcus needs to see you immediately, conference room 7. Conference room 7. Not his office, not my office, a neutral space, which in corporate terms meant bad news was coming. Marcus was already there when I arrived, sitting at the head of the table in his signature navy blazer. He'd founded the company in his garage 9 years ago, and I'd joined when we were still small enough to fit the entire team in a 2-bedroom apartment. We'd grown together, late nights fueled by energy drinks and impossible deadlines, building something extraordinary from nothing. But that morning, he couldn't meet my eyes. "Alex, sit down." His voice was careful, measured. The tone people use when they're about to ruin your life, but want to feel civilized about it. I sat, setting my coffee down with deliberate calm. "What's this about, Marcus?" "We have the investor call at 11. "I know." He finally looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in 8 years. Guilt mixed with resignation. "That's actually what I need to discuss. We're making some organizational changes." Organizational changes. Corporate speak for someone's getting fired. "The board has been pushing for fresh perspectives as we approach the IPO," Marcus continued, his fingers drumming against the table. "They feel we need someone with a different background, someone who can bridge the gap between our technical operations and our public image." My stomach dropped. "Marcus, are you firing me?" "Not firing," he said it too quickly. "Restructuring your role. You've done incredible work building our operational systems, but as we go public, we need someone who can be the face of those operations, someone with media presence, someone who understands brand optics. Someone." He kept saying someone, avoiding the actual name. "Who?" I asked, though part of me already knew. Marcus pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. A professional networking profile appeared, Vivian Harrington. His daughter. I'd met Vivian exactly 3 times. Once at the company holiday party 2 years ago, where she'd spent the entire evening taking selfies with the ice sculpture. Once at a board dinner, where she'd live-streamed the appetizers. And once at Marcus's birthday celebration, where she'd pitched him on making our brand more social media friendly. Her resume was impressive in the way that only generational wealth could create. Prestigious university degree in art history. 2 years as a lifestyle influencer with 500,000 followers. 6 months as a brand consultant for her father's friend's startup that had folded within a year. Current position, strategic advisor at a fashion tech company that, as far as I could tell, made an app for organizing your shoe collection. "Your daughter," I said flatly. "You're replacing me with your daughter who has 0 operational experience." "Vivienne brings valuable skills." "Marcus." I cut him off, 8 years of friendship giving me the right. Vivienne couldn't run a lemonade stand, let alone COO operations for a company going public. His face hardened. The guilt disappeared, replaced by defensive anger. "That's not fair. You don't know what she's capable of." "You're right, I don't. Because nothing on her resume suggests she's capable of managing 200 employees, maintaining infrastructure for 500 enterprise clients, or navigating an IPO process." The board approved this. Did the board see her actual qualifications, or did they see that she's your daughter and assume nepotism was easier than arguing? That was the line I shouldn't have crossed. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping against the floor with a sound like nails on a chalkboard. This decision is final. You'll transition to a senior advisor role, reporting to Vivienne. Same salary, different responsibilities. You'll help her get up to speed over the next month, transfer all your systems knowledge, and then step back into a supportive position. Every word felt like a punch. Report to Vivienne, transfer my knowledge, step back. And if I refuse? Then we'll consider it a resignation. His voice had gone cold, CEO mode fully activated. I'd hate to lose you, Alex, but I need team players who support the company's direction. I looked at him for a long moment, this man I'd worked beside for 8 years, who I'd helped build an empire from nothing, who I'd trusted with my career and my loyalty. He was choosing his incompetent daughter over me, over the company, over everything we'd built. When does this start? I asked quietly. Vivienne begins Monday. You'll have the week to prepare transition materials. I stood up, leaving my coffee on the table. You're making a mistake, Marcus. A $2.3 billion mistake. That's not your concern anymore. I walked out of conference room 7 at 9:47 a.m., technically still the COO, but in reality, already gone. My office felt different when I returned to it, like the walls had shifted while I was gone. 8 years of late nights, early mornings, weekend emergencies, all of it leading to this moment. Getting replaced by someone whose biggest professional achievement was a viral video about her morning routine. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. The screen showed my dashboard, the nerve center of our operations. Client status reports, infrastructure monitoring, team productivity metrics, financial projections, IPO preparation timelines. Hundreds of interconnected systems I'd built, refined, and maintained. Systems that Vivienne Harrington had no idea even existed. My phone buzzed. David Park, our CFO and my closest ally at the company. Just heard. Conference room 3, now. I found David pacing like a caged tiger, his usual calm demeanor completely shattered. Jennifer Torres, our lead engineer, was already there, her laptop open, face pale. Tell me this is a joke, David said the moment I walked in. Tell me Marcus didn't just make you report to his influencer daughter. Not a joke. I closed the door behind me. It's happening. She starts Monday. This is insane, Jennifer's voice cracked. Alex, you built everything. The operational frameworks, the client management systems, the scalability protocols, all of it. How does he expect Vivienne to run any of this? He expects me to teach her. David laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Teach her? Alex, I've seen her professional profile. Her last job was posting outfit photos. How do you teach someone with zero technical background to run operations for a pre-IPO tech company? You don't, I said simply. You can't. This is going to be a disaster. So what do we do? Jennifer asked. The IPO is in 6 months. If operations fall apart, the whole thing collapses, David finished. Stock price, investor confidence, client relationships, everything we've built for 8 years, gone because Marcus can't tell his princess no. We sat in heavy silence. Outside the glass walls, the company hummed with activity. Developers coding, sales teams closing deals, support staff handling client emergencies. All of it running on systems I'd created, maintained, and protected. I'm not staying, I said finally. I'll do the transition, teach Vivienne whatever I can in a week, and then I'm out. Out? David's eyes widened. Like leaving the company? Like leaving the company, I'm not reporting to someone who thinks synergy is a type of yoga. Jennifer closed her laptop. If you leave, I leave. I didn't spend 4 years building our infrastructure to watch it crumble under someone who probably thinks API stands for a pretty interface. I'm staying, David said quietly. Someone needs to try to salvage this from the inside. But Alex, if you're really leaving, you need to document everything. Every system, every process, every detail. Because when this implodes, and it will implode, we'll need proof that we tried to prevent it. He was right. Document everything. Create a paper trail showing exactly what Vivienne was inheriting and what she'd destroy through incompetence. I'll spend the week creating transition materials, I said. Complete documentation of all operational systems. Detailed instructions that even someone with no experience could follow. If Vivienne fails, it won't be because I didn't try to set her up for success. And when she fails anyway, Jennifer asked. I smiled for the first time that morning. Then we watched the consequences play out. Sometimes the best revenge is just stepping aside and letting people destroy themselves. I spent the rest of Tuesday creating what I called the Comprehensive Operational Transition Guide, a 200-page document that would either save the company or prove exactly how catastrophically unprepared Vivienne Harrington was. Every system I'd built over 8 years, explained in meticulous detail: client management protocols, infrastructure scaling procedures, team coordination frameworks, emergency response protocols, financial tracking systems, IPO preparation timelines. I wrote it all assuming the reader had zero technical background, zero operational experience, and zero common sense. Because that's exactly who would be reading it. By 8 p.m., my office was dark except for my laptop screen. Most of the team had gone home. I should have gone home too, but this was my last week as COO, and I wanted to make sure everything was documented, everything was ready, everything was perfect. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Alex. It's Vivi. Dad says you're going to help me learn the ropes. So excited to work together. Can we do lunch Monday? I know this amazing sushi place." Vivi. Not Vivienne. Vivi. With emojis. This was the person who would be running operations for a $2.3 billion IPO. I typed back, "Monday works. We have a lot to cover." Her response came immediately. "Awesome. By the way, is the dress code business casual? I have the cutest outfit planned." I stared at that message for a long moment. Then I closed my phone, returned to my transition document, and added another 50 pages. If Vivienne Harrington wanted to learn the ropes, I'd give her enough rope to hang herself. The real question was how long it would take before she realized she was drowning. Monday morning arrived with the kind of perfect California sunshine that made disasters feel impossible. I arrived at headquarters at 7 a.m., 2.5 hours before Vivienne's scheduled first day, because I wanted to see exactly how long it would take for everything to start falling apart. David met me in the lobby, 2 coffees in hand. Couldn't sleep either? Slept fine. I lied, taking the coffee. Just wanted to make sure the transition materials were ready. "Alex, you created a 200-page operational Bible. If she can't figure it out from that, she can't figure it out, period." We rode the elevator to the 8th floor in silence. The operations wing was already buzzing. My team never needed me to tell them to arrive early. They understood that running infrastructure for 500 enterprise clients meant being ready before problems happened, not after. Jennifer was at her desk, triple monitors displaying system health dashboards. She looked up when we entered. "Morning, I've been monitoring the weekend metrics. Everything's stable. All clients running optimal performance. Thought Vivienne should start her first day with clean numbers." "Optimistic of you to think she'll know what the numbers mean," David muttered. At 9:30 a.m. exactly, the elevator chimed, and Vivienne Harrington made her entrance. She wore a pink designer blazer over a luxury dress, 4-inch heels that clicked against the floor like a countdown timer, and carried a white leather tote with her name monogrammed in gold. Her makeup was camera perfect, her hair styled in waves that probably took 2 hours. She looked like she was walking into a Fashion Week event, not an operations floor. "Good morning, everyone," she announced it loud enough for the entire floor to hear, phone already out, already filming. "First day as Chief Operations Officer. So excited to bring some fresh energy to this amazing company." She was live streaming, on her first day, in the operations center. I walked over, keeping my voice low. "Vivienne, we don't allow recording in operations. Security protocol." She lowered the phone slightly, confused. "But I'm the COO now. Surely that doesn't apply to me." "It applies to everyone. Client data protection." "Oh." She turned off the stream, but I could see the disappointment. This was content for her, not a job. "Okay, so where's my office?" "This way." I led her through the operations floor. Heads turned as we passed, my team watching with barely concealed horror as their new boss clicked by in designer heels. My old office, now her office, had been completely redecorated over the weekend. Gone were my functional desk setup and monitoring screens. In their place, a white leather chair, a rose gold laptop, and a small ring light positioned for optimal selfie angles. "Dad had it redone for me," Vivienne beamed. "Don't you love it? The energy is so much better now. More aspirational." The 3 monitors I'd used to track system health, client metrics, and team productivity had been replaced with a single 27-inch display, currently showing her social media feed. "Where are the operational dashboards?" I asked carefully. "Dashboards?" "The screens that show system status, client health, infrastructure performance." She waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, those ugly technical things? I figured we could just check those on our phones or whatever." This space needed to reflect leadership, you know? Aesthetic matters. Aesthetic matters. Our systems could be on fire, and she'd never know because she'd removed the monitors. "Right," I said slowly. "Why don't we sit down and I'll walk you through the transition materials." I spent the next 3 hours explaining operational frameworks to someone who kept checking her phone every 5 minutes. The transition guide sat unopened on her rose gold laptop while I explained client management protocols, infrastructure scaling, team coordination. "So each client has a dedicated account manager," I explained, showing her the organizational chart. "They report to regional directors, who report to you. You need to review weekly metrics and flag any accounts showing performance issues." "Weekly?" Vivienne frowned. "That seems like a lot. Can't we do monthly?" "I have a really packed schedule. These are Fortune 500 companies paying us millions annually. They expect weekly attention." "But if everything's running smoothly, do we really need to check that often?" I took a breath. "How will you know everything's running smoothly if you don't check?" She smiled like I'd asked a silly question. "Won't someone tell me if there's a problem?" "You're the COO. You're the someone who needs to know about problems." "Right, but that's why we have all these people." She gestured vaguely at the operations floor. "They handle the day-to-day stuff, and I handle the big picture." The big picture. She thought the COO role was about vision boards and motivational posts. "Vivienne, the big picture is made of thousands of little pictures. Client relationships, system performance, team management, financial metrics." "See, this is exactly why Dad wanted me in this role," she interrupted, leaning forward earnestly. "You're so focused on the tiny details that you're missing the forest for the trees. What we need is someone who can see the brand vision, who understands narrative, who can make our story compelling for the IPO. The story that's compelling for the IPO is that our operations run flawlessly and our clients are happy." "Sure, but also, we need to think about our social presence, our visual identity, our lifestyle positioning." She pulled out her phone, showing me a mood board. "I was thinking we could do a whole rebrand. More millennial pink, less corporate blue. Tech should feel approachable, fun." I stared at the mood board, full of pastel colors, inspirational quotes, and stock photos of people laughing at salads. This was what she thought operations meant. "The rebrand can wait," I said carefully. "Right now, you need to understand the actual operational systems. Let's go through the transition guide." We opened the 200-page document. By page 3, her eyes had glazed over. By page 10, she was openly scrolling her phone. By page 15, she stood up. "This is a lot of technical jargon," she said. "Can you maybe create a simpler version, like a PowerPoint with the key points, maybe some infographics?" I'd spent 8 years building these systems. She wanted them summarized in a PowerPoint. "The document is already simplified," I said. "This is the essential information you need to run operations." "Right, but I'm more of a visual learner. And honestly, Alex, I think you're overcomplicating things. Operations isn't rocket science. It's about people management and keeping things moving. I've managed teams before." "What teams?" "My content creation team. I had 3 people helping with my social media." 3 people helping with social posts versus 200 employees managing infrastructure for 500 enterprise clients. Sure, basically the same thing. "Vivienne, I understand this is overwhelming, but you need to take this seriously. The IPO is in 6 months. Investors will be scrutinizing every aspect of our operations. If anything goes wrong..." "Nothing will go wrong," she smiled brightly. "That's why we have such great people. You've built amazing systems, Alex. They practically run themselves at this point, right?" They didn't run themselves. They required constant monitoring, adjustment, and expert intervention. But she didn't want to hear that. "How about this?" she continued. "You can stay on as my advisor, like Dad said. When I need technical help, I'll ask. But for day-to-day stuff, I've got this. I'm really good at managing operations. It's all about delegation and trust." She was going to delegate her way into disaster. "If that's what you want," I said slowly, "but I strongly recommend you read through the transition materials. At minimum, the sections on client escalation procedures and system emergency protocols. Totally, I'll read it tonight. She wouldn't. Now, can you introduce me to the team? I want to meet everyone. The team meeting was exactly as painful as I'd anticipated. Vivienne stood at the front of the operations floor in her pink designer blazer, phone in hand for notes she'd never reference. Hi everyone. I'm Vivienne, but please call me Vivi. She smiled like this was a motivational speech. I'm so excited to be leading this incredible team. Alex has done amazing work, and I'm here to take everything to the next level. Jennifer caught my eye from across the room. Her expression said, "Is this actually happening?" I know change can be scary, Vivienne continued, but I want you all to know that my door is always open. Well, not literally always. I need focused time for strategic thinking, but definitely open for important things. Marcus, my lead systems architect, raised his hand. What's your background in enterprise operations? Vivienne's smile didn't waver. Great question. I come from a brand strategy background, which gives me a unique perspective on how operations impact user experience and market positioning. But do you have technical experience? Jennifer pressed, understanding our infrastructure, client systems, scaling protocols. I'm a fast learner, Vivienne said brightly. And honestly, I think fresh eyes are exactly what we need. Sometimes being too technical makes you lose sight of the human element, you know? The human element. The operations team stared at her like she'd just suggested we run our servers on positive thinking. Any other questions? Vivienne asked. The room stayed silent. Not because there were no questions, but because people were too stunned to speak. Awesome. Oh, one more thing. I'm thinking we should do team bonding activities. Maybe a vision board workshop? Or a wellness retreat. Operations can be so stressful, and I really believe in work-life balance. After the meeting, my team descended on my desk like a storm. Please tell me this is temporary, Marcus said. Please tell me she's just shadowing you and you're still running things. She's the COO now. I'm transitioning out. Transitioning out? Jennifer's voice rose. Alex, you can't leave. You're the only person who understands how everything connects. If you leave, and she's in charge, then document everything, I interrupted. Every decision she makes, every change she implements, every system she breaks. When this collapses, and it will collapse, we'll need evidence that it wasn't your fault. David appeared, his expression grim. Just got word from Marcus. He's pulling you off the IPO preparation committee. Says Vivienne will represent operations in investor meetings. Vivienne, in investor meetings. Explaining technical operations to venture capitalists who'd spent millions betting on our competence. When's the first meeting? I asked. Thursday. Board presentation on operational readiness for the IPO. 3 days. She'd been COO for 3 hours. And, in 3 days, she'd be presenting our operational status to the board members who controlled our IPO timeline. This should be interesting, I said quietly. Interesting was an understatement. Tuesday morning, I arrived to find a new email from Vivienne marked urgent. Team, excited to announce some fresh changes. We're implementing a new system I call operational flow. Less rigid structures, more creative problem solving. Details at this morning's all hands. Less rigid structures, in operations, for enterprise clients paying millions for reliability. The all hands meeting revealed exactly what operational flow meant: chaos. I've been reviewing our processes, Vivienne announced, standing in front of a hastily made PowerPoint with motivational quotes and stock photos, and I think we're overcomplicating things, so I'm streamlining. She clicked to the next slide, new communication protocol. Instead of all those boring status reports and metrics dashboards, she said, we're going to use a more intuitive system. Everyone will post updates in our new team messaging channel using emojis to indicate status. Green heart for good, yellow heart for neutral, red heart for problems. Simple. Jennifer raised her hand slowly. We manage 500 enterprise clients with varying infrastructure needs. How do emojis communicate specific technical issues? That's the beauty, Vivienne beamed. It forces us to focus on the essential emotional state of the system rather than getting lost in technical weeds. The emotional state of the system, Marcus repeated slowly. Our servers have emotional states now. It's a metaphor, obviously, Vivienne said, though her tone suggested it might not be. The point is, we're spending too much time on documentation and not enough time on innovative thinking. She clicked to the next slide, flexible response times. I've noticed we have really strict SLAs with clients, she continued. Like we have to respond to issues within 2 hours? That's so stressful. I'm extending all response times to 24 hours so the team doesn't feel pressured. The room went silent. Our SLAs, service level agreements, were legally binding contracts. We'd promised 2-hour response times to clients. They paid premium rates for that guarantee. Vivienne, I said carefully, standing up, those SLAs are contractual obligations. We can't unilaterally change them without client approval and contract renegotiation. But we can communicate better expectations, she countered. If clients understand that quality takes time. Our clients are Fortune 500 companies running mission-critical operations on our platform. If their systems go down, every hour costs them millions. They're not going to accept 24-hour response times. Then they'll adapt, Vivienne said with complete confidence. This is about setting healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries with enterprise clients. During an IPO preparation, David caught my eye and mouthed, "Document everything." I spent the rest of Tuesday watching Vivienne implement her streamlined processes while I quietly documented each catastrophic decision. By Wednesday morning, the consequences were already visible. 3 client escalations ignored, because the team was waiting for Vivienne to respond to red heart emojis in the messaging app. 2 infrastructure issues flagged but not addressed because the new flexible response time meant engineers thought they had 24 hours. 1 major client threatening to terminate their contract because nobody had responded to their emergency in 8 hours. Jennifer appeared at my desk, laptop open. "Alex, we have a serious problem. Vivienne deleted the operational dashboards." "What?" She said they were cluttering her screen. She removed them from the main monitoring system. Now nobody can see real-time client health metrics unless they manually log into each individual client system. I pulled up the monitoring interface. Jennifer was right. The comprehensive dashboard I'd built, showing status for all 500 clients simultaneously, was gone. In its place, Vivienne's vision board PowerPoint set as the default screen. "Can we restore it?" I asked. "From backup, yes, but Vivienne has admin access now. She can just delete it again." This was accelerating faster than I'd anticipated. We were 3 days into her tenure, and critical systems were already breaking down. "Jennifer, I need you to do something," I said quietly. "Create a shadow dashboard. Host it on a separate server that Vivienne doesn't know about. Give access to the team leads only. Let them continue monitoring properly even if she's removed the official tools." That's going around the COO. That's keeping our clients' systems running while the COO learns why those dashboards existed in the first place. Jennifer nodded slowly. "I'll have it ready by end of day." Wednesday afternoon, I received an email from Marcus. "Alex, can you prep Vivienne for tomorrow's board presentation? She needs talking points on operational readiness." Talking points for a board presentation. 24 hours before, she had to present metrics she didn't understand to investors who'd funded the company. I found Vivienne in her office on her phone, filming another social media story about her first week as a tech executive. "Marcus asked me to help you prepare for tomorrow," I said. She looked up, smiling. "Oh, perfect. I was wondering what I should wear, business formal or business chic?" "Vivienne, they're going to ask specific questions about our operational metrics, client satisfaction rates, system performance, scaling capacity." "Right, and you'll give me the numbers and I'll present them. Easy." "They'll ask follow-up questions. They'll want details about how we're maintaining quality during rapid growth, how we're preparing infrastructure for post-IPO scaling, what our risk mitigation strategies are." She waved her hand. "I'll just speak from the heart about our team's passion and commitment. The board doesn't want passion. They want data proving we can handle a public company's operational demands." For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. "Can't you come with me? You know all the technical stuff." "You're the COO. You need to know the technical stuff." "But I've only been here 3 days." "Exactly. Which is why maybe implementing sweeping changes before understanding the existing systems wasn't the best strategy." She bristled. "Are you saying I'm doing a bad job?" "I'm saying you inherited a complex operational structure and immediately started dismantling it without understanding why it existed. Because it was unnecessarily complicated. Sometimes you need an outside perspective to see inefficiencies. Or sometimes the complications exist for reasons that become obvious when everything breaks. We stared at each other across her rose gold laptop. Behind her, through the glass walls, I could see the operations floor. My team working frantically to keep systems running despite Vivienne's improvements. I'll create talking points for the board, I said finally. But Vivienne, you need to actually read them. You need to understand what you're presenting. Of course, she said, but I could see she was already back on her phone, probably planning her board meeting outfit. I spent Wednesday night creating the most comprehensive board presentation prep document I'd ever written. Every metric explained. Every potential question anticipated. Every risk outlined with brutal honesty. If Vivienne actually read it, she might survive the presentation. If she didn't, tomorrow's board meeting would be a masterclass in public failure. I emailed it at 11 p.m. with the subject line, "Critical Board Presentation Prep, read before tomorrow." She replied at 11:03 p.m., "Thanks. You're a lifesaver." Thursday morning, the board presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m. I arrived at 8 to find Vivienne in her office, doing her makeup. "Did you read the prep document?" I asked. "Skimmed it. Got the general vibe." The general vibe. She was about to present operational metrics to board members who'd invested $200 million, and she'd gotten the general vibe. "Vivienne, this is critical. These people control whether our IPO moves forward." "Alex, I've got this. You worry too much." She applied lipstick with the precision of someone who'd done it 1,000 times for camera. "I'm great with people. That's what really matters in these meetings." At 9:55, we walked into the main conference room. 8 board members sat around the table, laptops open, expression serious. Marcus sat at the head, his face carefully neutral. "Good morning," Vivienne said brightly, ready to talk operations. The first question came from Richard Chen, lead investor. "Walk us through your client satisfaction metrics. How are we tracking compared to last quarter?" Vivienne smiled. "Our clients are super happy. We have amazing relationships." "Specific metrics?" Richard pressed. "Net promoter score? Retention rates?" Vivienne's smile faltered slightly. I'd have to check the exact numbers." "You don't know your client satisfaction metrics?" Another board member, Sarah Martinez, looked up from her laptop. "You've been COO for 4 days." "I'm still getting up to speed on the technical details," Vivienne said, defensive now. "But the team assures me everything is great." "Great isn't a metric," Richard said. "What's the actual NPS?" Silence. Vivienne looked at me desperately. "It's in the prep document I sent you," I said quietly. "Oh, right," she fumbled with her phone. "Let me just find that." She couldn't find it, or she'd never downloaded it. Either way, she stood in front of 8 board members who'd invested $200 million, unable to answer the first basic question about her department's performance. The next 30 minutes were excruciating. Every question she couldn't answer, every metric she didn't know, every system she couldn't explain. "How are you preparing infrastructure for post-IPO scaling? What's your plan for maintaining SLAs during rapid growth? Walk us through your risk mitigation strategies." To each question, Vivienne offered vague platitudes about team culture and innovation, while board members' faces grew progressively darker. Finally, Marcus intervened. "Let's take a break. Vivienne, can I see you outside?" Through the glass conference room walls, I watched Marcus's animated gestures, his barely controlled frustration, Vivienne's defensive posture, her attempts to explain. When they returned, Marcus's voice was carefully controlled. "We're going to table the operational review until next week. Vivienne will have more time to familiarize herself with the metrics." The board members exchanged glances. Everyone in that room knew what had just happened. The CEO's daughter had proven publicly that she was completely unqualified for her role. After the meeting, David found me in the hallway. "That was worse than I imagined." "That was exactly what I imagined," I corrected. "She's been COO for 4 days. Removed critical systems, ignored escalations, and can't answer basic questions about the department she's supposed to be running." "The board is furious," Richard Chen cornered me after. "He wants operational reports directly from engineering now, bypassing Vivienne entirely." "So they don't trust her." "They don't trust her, but Marcus won't remove his daughter. So we're stuck in this nightmare, where everyone knows she's incompetent, but no one can do anything about it." I looked back through the glass walls at Vivienne, who was on her phone, probably posting about her challenging morning in tech leadership. "It's been 4 days," I said quietly. "We still have 5 months and 3 weeks until the IPO. Want to bet on how long it takes before something catastrophic happens?" David checked his watch. "I'll give it 2 weeks. Maximum." He was optimistic. I gave it 1. I was wrong about the timeline. It didn't take 2 weeks. It didn't even take 1. The catastrophe began on day 7 of Vivienne's tenure at 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning. My phone exploded with alerts. Not the gentle buzzing of a few notifications. The violent, continuous vibration of a complete system meltdown. I grabbed it, still half asleep, and saw 47 missed calls, 103 text messages, 67 messaging app notifications, all from my former team, all marked urgent. The first message I opened was from Jennifer. "Alex, call me now, everything is down." I called her immediately. She answered on the first ring, her voice tight with panic. "Alex, thank God, we have a level 5 infrastructure failure. Our platform is completely offline for 127 enterprise clients. Financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, all down. We're looking at millions in losses per hour." Level 5, the worst classification, the kind of failure that ended companies. What happened? I was already at my laptop, pulling up the shadow dashboard Jennifer had created. Vivienne implemented a system optimization yesterday afternoon. She said we were using too much server capacity, and it was inefficient. She scaled back our infrastructure by 40%. I stared at the screen, not quite believing what I was hearing. She did what? She thought we were over-provisioned. Said we could save money by reducing our server allocation. I tried to explain that the excess capacity was for load balancing and redundancy, but she said I was being resistant to change. The dashboard showed the carnage. Red across the board. Systems failing in cascade as the reduced infrastructure buckled under normal load. "Where's Vivienne now? We've been calling her for 3 hours. She's not answering." Of course she wasn't. It was 3 a.m., and social media influencers didn't do emergency response. "I'm coming in," I said. "Get the emergency response team assembled. We need to start damage control now." "Alex, you're not COO anymore. Vivienne has to authorize emergency protocols." "Then we're wasting time we don't have. Get the team ready. I'll deal with the authorization issues later." I arrived at headquarters at 3:30 a.m. to find the operations floor in full crisis mode. Every engineer was at their desk, faces illuminated by the red glow of error messages. The air was thick with tension and the smell of burnt coffee. Marcus, my systems architect, looked up when I entered. "Thank God you're here. We've got 127 clients completely offline. Their data is safe, but they can't access any of their systems. Every minute this continues, we're violating SLAs and racking up penalties." "Show me what happened." He pulled up the logs. There it was, yesterday at 4:37 p.m., a massive infrastructure change. Server allocation reduced by 40%. Load balancing protocols disabled. Redundancy systems deactivated. All authorized by Vivienne Harrington, COO. "She said it was a cost-saving measure," Marcus said bitterly. "I tried to explain that those systems weren't extra. They were essential architecture. She told me I was being negative." David appeared, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "I've got the CFO of Blackstone Holdings on line 3. They've been down for 4 hours. Their entire trading infrastructure runs on our platform. They're threatening legal action." "Put them on hold," I said. "We need to fix this before we start managing fallout." "Alex, you can't authorize system changes." "You're not." "I'm the only person in this building who knows how to fix this, and Vivienne isn't answering her phone. So unless you want to explain to 127 CEOs why their companies are offline because we were worried about corporate hierarchy, I suggest we start restoring systems now." David hesitated, then nodded. "Do it. I'll handle the political fallout." For the next 4 hours, I did what I'd done for 8 years. I fixed what was broken. We restored server capacity, reactivated load balancing, rebuilt redundancy systems. By 7:30 a.m., we had 90 clients back online. By 8:15, we'd restored all but 3 of the most complex infrastructures. And at 8:47 a.m., Vivienne Harrington walked into the operations floor. She wore athleisure, designer leggings, and a crop top, and carried a green smoothie. Her hair was in a messy bun, and she looked like she'd just come from yoga. "Morning, everyone," she said brightly. "Wow, you're all here early." Is there some kind of team breakfast I forgot about? The operations floor went silent. 40 engineers stared at her, with expressions ranging from disbelief to barely controlled rage. Vivienne, I said quietly, we've been in emergency response mode for 6 hours. Where were you? Emergency response? She looked genuinely confused. What emergency? Your infrastructure changes yesterday took down 127 client systems. We've been working all night to restore service. Her face went pale. But I was just trying to save money. The systems consultant said we were over capacity. What systems consultant? I don't remember his name. He was from that consulting firm Dad hired. He said we could reduce costs by scaling back redundant systems. I closed my eyes, fighting for calm. Vivienne, we don't have a consulting firm. And those systems weren't redundant. They were essential infrastructure. But he showed me a presentation. It made total sense. Did you verify this person's credentials? Did you check with engineering before implementing his recommendations? I'm the COO. I shouldn't have to check with everyone for every decision. You should check with someone before making changes that could take down 500 enterprise clients. My voice had risen. The entire floor was watching now. This was the confrontation that had been building for 7 days. I was trying to help, Vivienne's voice cracked. Everyone keeps saying I don't understand technical things. So when someone actually explained things in a way I could understand, I listened. How was I supposed to know it was wrong? By asking your actual technical team. By reading the documentation. By taking 5 minutes to understand the systems you're responsible for. This isn't fair, she said, tears starting. Dad said you'd help me, but all you've done is make me feel stupid. I gave you 200 pages of documentation. I offered to train you. You said you had it under control. Because I felt like you were trying to sabotage me, like you wanted me to fail. The accusation hung in the air. Everyone heard it. The COO publicly claiming that her predecessor was sabotaging her. I don't need to sabotage you, Vivienne, I said quietly. You're doing that perfectly well yourself. She stared at me, mascara starting to run. Then she turned and fled, her designer sneakers squeaking against the floor. David grabbed my arm. Alex, Marcus is on his way up. He's furious. Good. Maybe he'll finally see what everyone else has been seeing for a week. Marcus stormed onto the operations floor at 9:15 a.m., his face red with anger. My office. Now. I followed him to the executive suite, where he rounded on me the moment the door closed. You undermined my daughter in front of the entire operations team. Your daughter took down 127 enterprise clients because she didn't bother to verify a consultant, who probably got into the building by social engineering. She was trying to optimize systems. She nearly destroyed the company. Marcus, we've been in crisis mode for 7 hours. 7 hours of client outages, SLA violations, and potential lawsuits, all because Vivienne made a catastrophic decision without consulting anyone who actually understands our infrastructure. She's learning. She's not learning. She's refusing to learn. I gave her comprehensive documentation. I offered training. She ignored all of it because she'd rather take advice from a random stranger than admit she doesn't know what she's doing. Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. You've had it out for her from day one. I've been trying to keep this company from imploding while your daughter plays tech executive on social media. Do you have any idea what the board is going to say when they hear about this? His face went pale. The board doesn't need to know about every minor incident. Minor? Marcus? We're looking at millions in SLA penalties. Multiple clients are threatening to terminate their contracts. Blackstone Holdings is preparing legal action. This isn't minor. This is existential. Then fix it. That's why you're still here. I'm not here anymore, remember? I'm not the COO. I'm not on the IPO committee. I'm a senior advisor who shouldn't even have access to emergency protocols. But I do, because otherwise your daughter's incompetence would have cost you the entire company. We stared at each other across his desk. 8 years of partnership reduced to this moment. What do you want me to do? He asked finally, his voice defeated. Admit this isn't working. Put someone competent in charge of operations before the IPO collapses entirely. I can't fire my own daughter. Then the company will fail. It's that simple. Marcus sat down heavily. He looked old suddenly, worn down by the weight of choosing between his family and his business. Give her another chance, he said quietly. She's smart, she'll learn from this. Marcus. 1 more month. If she can't handle it, I'll figure something out. 1 more month. 4 more weeks of Vivienne making decisions that could destroy everything we'd built. Fine, I said. But I want it in writing that I'm authorized to override her decisions in emergency situations. If she's going to keep playing COO, someone needs to have adult supervision. He nodded slowly. I'll have legal draw up the authorization. I left his office knowing that this was only the beginning. The catastrophe had been contained, but the damage was done. Clients were furious. The team was demoralized. The board was questioning leadership. And we still had 5 months until the IPO. The next 3 weeks were a slow-motion train wreck. Vivienne, chastened by the outage but not actually changed, continued making decisions with increasing desperation. She implemented a flat hierarchy that eliminated team leads, causing instant confusion about who was responsible for what. She mandated innovation days, where engineers were supposed to stop working on client issues to brainstorm disruptive ideas. She hired a wellness coordinator for 6 figures to teach meditation, while critical positions in client services remained unfilled. Each decision was explained with the same buzzwords: disruption, innovation, fresh perspectives. Each decision made operations progressively worse. By week 4, we'd lost 3 major clients. By week 6, 9 more were actively shopping for alternatives. Jennifer resigned, taking 2 senior engineers with her. Marcus followed a week later. I documented everything, every decision, every consequence, every warning that was ignored. The paper trail grew from a document to a file to an entire archive of catastrophic management. And then, 8 weeks into Vivienne's tenure, the call came. It was Richard Chen, lead board member, asking to meet privately, not at headquarters, at his office, without Marcus. I went. Richard's office overlooked San Francisco Bay, all glass and steel in cold reality. He didn't waste time on pleasantries. The IPO is in 4 months, he said. Our due diligence team is reporting serious operational concerns. Client churn is up 300%. Employee attrition has doubled. System reliability metrics are below industry standard for the first time in 5 years. Yes, I said simply. The CEO's daughter is in charge of operations. Yes. And you're? Watching everything fall apart because Marcus won't admit he made a mistake. Richard leaned back in his chair. Here's our position. The consortium I represent has $200 million invested in this company. We're not going to watch that investment evaporate because of nepotism. The IPO is scheduled for June 15th. That's our deadline. What are you proposing? Marcus removes Vivienne from operations, reinstates you as COO, and gives you full authority to rebuild before the IPO. Or we pull our support, and the company collapses. He won't do it. She's his daughter. Then we'll force it. We have board majority. We can vote to replace him as CEO if necessary. I thought about Marcus, my friend and partner for 8 years. About destroying him to save the company we'd built together. There's another option, I said slowly. I'm listening. Vivienne stays as COO on paper. I return as Chief Operating Director, new position, reporting directly to the board. I rebuild operations behind the scenes while she maintains the title and the appearance that Marcus's choice worked. That's a lot of grace to give someone who's proven herself incompetent. It's the only option that doesn't destroy Marcus and doesn't require admitting to investors that we promoted someone completely unqualified 6 months before our IPO. Richard considered this. You'd need complete operational authority. I'd need it in writing, signed by the board, with clear override privileges on all her decisions. Done. But Alex, if this doesn't work, if operations aren't stabilized in time for the IPO, we will remove Marcus. And probably you too. Understood. The next morning, Marcus called an emergency meeting. His face was gray, his voice flat. The board has created a new position, he announced. Chief Operating Director, reporting directly to the board with oversight on all operational decisions. Alex Chen will fill this position effective immediately. Vivienne sat in the corner, her face blotchy from crying. She didn't look at me. Vivienne will retain the COO title and focus on strategic initiatives and external relations, Marcus continued. Alex will handle day-to-day operations and technical infrastructure. In other words, Vivienne would keep her title and salary while I did the actual job. Corporate face-saving at its finest. But I didn't care about titles anymore. I cared about saving the company. For the next 4 months, I rebuilt. I restored the systems Vivienne had destroyed. I won back the clients she'd lost. I rehired the team members who'd left. I worked 18-hour days, sacrificing sleep and sanity to pull us back from the edge. Vivienne, for her part, seemed relieved. She attended photo opportunities and gave interviews about collaborative leadership while I did everything else. She posted on social media about work-life balance while I debugged crisis after crisis. And slowly, impossibly, it worked. By April, our client churn had returned to normal levels. By May, system reliability metrics were back to industry-leading standards. By early June, the week before our IPO, we'd regained most of the clients we'd lost and added new ones. The IPO launched on June 15th at 9:30 a.m. Opening price, $42 per share, valuing us at $2.3 billion. By market close, we'd risen to $48, a 14% first-day gain. Marcus stood on the trading floor, ringing the opening bell with Vivienne beside him in designer businesswear. The cameras loved her, the young, beautiful COO of a successful tech company. I watched from headquarters, where my team was monitoring systems to ensure nothing broke during our biggest day. No cameras, no credit, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing that everything running smoothly was because I'd rebuilt it. David found me in my office that evening, after the markets closed. "We did it," he said, holding up champagne. "Against all odds, we actually pulled it off." "You did it," he corrected. "Vivienne nearly destroyed everything, and you saved it." "The market thinks she's brilliant," I said, gesturing to the news coverage on my screen. Every article praised her leadership, her innovative approach, her fresh perspective. "The market doesn't know the truth," David said, "but everyone who matters does. The board knows, the team knows, the clients know." He poured 2 glasses. "And most importantly, you know." We drank to that. To truth that existed regardless of public narrative, to work that mattered regardless of credit, to survival despite impossible odds. 3 weeks after the IPO, I submitted my resignation, not in anger, not in defeat, simply because I'd stayed long enough to save what I'd built, and now it was time to build something new. Marcus took it better than I expected. "I knew this was coming," he said. "I don't blame you, Alex. I failed you. I let family loyalty override good judgment, and it almost cost me everything." "Did you learn anything?" I asked. He smiled sadly. "I learned that love isn't the same as qualification. I wanted so badly for Vivienne to succeed that I couldn't see she wasn't ready. Maybe she never will be. What happens to her now? She's transitioning to a board advisory role. Turns out she's actually quite good at investor relations and public presence, just not operations. So Vivienne would end up fine, a well-paid position using the skills she actually had, with her father's company to support her." "And you?" Marcus asked. "What's next?" I thought about the job offers that had flooded in after the IPO. Companies who'd watched me rebuild operations in 4 months wanted to know if I could do the same for them. "I'm starting a consulting firm," I said. Operational turnarounds for tech companies. Fixing the disasters that happen when unqualified people get put in charge of things they don't understand. Marcus laughed, a genuine sound. "You're going to make a fortune." "That's the plan." I left headquarters for the last time on a Friday evening in July. The building still gleamed in the sunset, still hummed with activity, still represented everything we'd built from nothing. But it wasn't mine anymore, and that was okay, because I'd learned something valuable through this disaster. You can't stop people from making catastrophic mistakes. You can't prevent nepotism or bad judgment or the chaos that follows incompetent leadership. But you can survive it, you can document it. You can build something better from the ashes. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's letting them destroy themselves, while you quietly ensure that when the dust settles, everyone who matters knows exactly who actually kept things running. 6 months later, my consulting firm had 12 clients and a waiting list. Vivienne had pivoted to, quote, thought leadership, giving talks about innovation in tech. Marcus had stepped down as CEO, handing control to someone actually qualified. And the company's stock price had doubled, Because it turned out that when you had competent people running operations, companies actually succeeded. I still had the 200-page transition document I'd created for Vivienne. I kept it framed in my office. A reminder that sometimes the greatest satisfaction isn't immediate victory. It's the long game, played with patience and precision, where the truth eventually reveals itself regardless of who takes credit. She walked into my office on a Tuesday morning, designer heels, fresh MBA, daddy's last name. She thought she was taking over. She had no idea she was just getting started on her own downfall. And I had front row seats to watch natural selection do its work.